So before we begin this video, I just want to preface this 100%. The opinions and the emotions that are coming through in this video are first and foremost primarily mine, 100%. This is not something that is meant to put anyone down or make anyone feel defensive or territorial. It really isn't. And if that's the way you're getting, you're more than free to just deal with that on your own time. But this is from conversations also that I've had with other photographers, whether it's paid photography, whether it's passion photography, enthusiasts, professionals, hobbyists, etc., etc. And I just, I really want to just talk about this because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, because it's something, these topics are things that have changed the way that even I myself view a lot of the things that not only I'm creating and making, but also the way that I view a lot of things just in life in general whenever it comes to my photography. So the conversations that I want to have today are really just about the mindset of photography and the state of photography. And now listen, it's going to sound very doom and gloom and negative. I can already understand that, but I'm not meaning it to sound doom and gloom and negative. I'm just trying to discuss something that is very visible to no matter who you are. And if you're objective in a lot of this, you'll see it. So I'd like to start off first with an apology. The apology is due to the fact that I myself have fallen into a trench of competing for the admiration of people around me. Now let me explain what I mean by this, because it's something that hits a lot of us, if not every single one of us. The first thing that I notice whenever I look at my content on YouTube or that I look at my content on Instagram is it is geared towards others. Period. The information that I'm giving you guys, it is not always what I want to give you. Do I want to share a review on a Leica Cube? No, because it's another camera. It's the same reason why I haven't given out my full review on an X70, on the GFX line that Fujifilm sent me, all this gear that people have sent me, the stuff that I've been able to try, even the things that my closest friends don't even know that I got my hands on and got to play with a couple days in forms of other Leicas and in form of a Nikon system. It's because I am understanding that I have gotten bit by the bug of pushing myself towards what others would want and what would get me more views, clicks, likes, and engagement, whether on Instagram or whether on YouTube, my two primary platforms. Now, this is not something that I myself am the only person that is dealing with, and I talked about this in another video, but it is something that I will hold myself responsible for, because the thing that I hate the most about the photography world right now is so many people feel like they're not good enough because of the gear that they have, or because of the city, the landscape, or the work that they're doing. Because they feel like if I'm not getting paid, then my photography is useless. And I've even said some stupid stuff along the lines of, listen, if you're not a paid photographer, don't tell a paid photographer how he should do things. Mostly just because I don't need constructive criticism from people. I've got two mentors in my life right now, and they are the ones who help me out, and they are the ones who discuss with me and give me feedback about not only my videography and my photography, but also about the way that I'm handling myself and my business. So I leave it to them to tell me things. But there's another part of me that just doesn't want to hear more criticism about the work that I'm doing, because I'm already my biggest critic. It's something that we all fall prey to. And you can say that it's just been something that's been done by just YouTube and just by Instagram, but it goes further than that. It goes further than that because it comes from this ideal from those that are in generations above us, being so hard on photographers that have now come in the game. Now it's no one knows what to do, you're doing the same thing, but everyone has their opinion. I don't like these filters, the way people edit, what happened to good all this, and this. Whenever people would literally pick a film stock because it's basically an image with a certain filter that gives a certain look and a certain feeling, but we do it digital now. And so there's a lot of issues that create toxicity in the camera community. Whether it's film versus digital, which doesn't matter because they're the exact same thing. Film just has more steps and costs more money in the long run. Whether it's medium format versus full frame, whether it's full frame versus APS-C and APS-C versus, whatever, what have you, the sensor wars, whether it's the camera brand wars, whether it's the focal length wars, etc., etc. I can go on and on and on about. Photography has become so combative. But even worse than that is because it's combative, it has left a group of photographers, meaning all of us, who are, for the most part, defensive and insecure about either their gear or what they're putting out there. And let me explain. When I'm looking at photography now, and I'm looking at the way things have changed recently, things have really shifted to two main general areas. The conversation about gear is a big thing that holds everyone up. When you're posting an image, people want to know two things. What did you shoot it on? And what was your aperture? And 9 times out of 10, they want to hear you shot it on this badass, amazing f1.0, f1.2 lens. And if you say you shot it, oh, I shot it at 3.7, oh, wow, what? No way. They're surprised. Because contrary to what their belief is, you can get great images not being shooting wide open or not having $1,000 glass. But that's not what we've been trained. We've been trained to think, and it happened around 2012 with the boom of Instagram and the boom of YouTube, with photography YouTube. We've been trained in this belief that because photographers, YouTubers, Instagrammers, things like this started putting words behind certain gear. And the words are professional, the words are you need, the words are expert, the words are bokeh. And these things now have become so ingrained in our society that people who are hobbyists say, I need professional glass, I need a professional body, or they're describing this as it's a professional body. If you don't do professional work, you don't need it. And it's become such a problem because now we have people who, instead of creating images they like with the gear they have and want to go out and shoot, their mindset isn't, my work is good enough right now and I'm going to get better at it and my work is pleasing. Their mindset is always, if I had this, this would be better. And it's really one of the worst things that's ever happened to photography. 100%. We will look back at this in a couple decades and say, damn, we really let certain people just drag us because they were able to feed us this lie that the gear that we used was more important than who we were and the eye that we had. And it's something that is really going to, just hit a lot of people in the mouth. Now, I get it. I have professional friends. I do paid work all the time. I would never call myself professional at this point anymore. I don't want to. I get it. There's certain things you need for certain jobs. Well, that's why I don't like when people say gear doesn't matter. Gear definitely matters. You need the right gear to do a right job, or else you're not going to be able to perform. Gear 1000% matters. But what doesn't matter, more than anything, is someone else's perspective about your gear. Listen, gear matters. But if you suck at your job, it's not going to matter because you're going to do bad. Now, I've said this many a time before. If you can't be professional with an entry-level lens, an entry-level budget camera, an APS-C sensor, a Micro Four Thirds sensor, then you're never going to be professional when you have your professional gear. You can't be. 100%. You cannot. I've seen it over and over and over again where I have friends or I have people that want to reach out to me and talk to me, and I bought this gear and it's amazing, it's this, and they want to get rid of it, or they get rid of it, it costs too much, they don't use it enough, or their images are bad. I think of Ken Willer whenever him and the creep Jason Lanier were doing a shootout, and Ken had the GFX system, and he did horrible. And I know a lot of people are thinking, was it the autofocus? It wasn't. Ken overexposed all of his images. Period. He tried to use a flash instead of using natural light, and he blew and he destroyed all of his images. Even his RAWs couldn't be recovered. And a man who talked so much trash about every other system, including Sony, and he couldn't just get exposure down. And these are the people that we're letting just destroy us, when it shows you that the gear literally doesn't matter to an extent when you know exactly what you're doing. Now, mind you, if I'm shooting sports with 18 to 55 kit lens and it's almost pitch black, I'm going to have a pretty hard time trying to reach the middle of a soccer field or in the middle of a baseball diamond. But I can still make things happen. It may not be conventional, but I can still make things happen. I'm not saying that gear doesn't have its place. What I'm saying is we have started to develop and create such an insecurity just in our lives with photography due to the fact that we've let other people dictate how good our images are instead of the images pleasing to me. And that's first and foremost what matters. The other place that this takes place in is Instagram, where we have now the dopamine addiction with a lot of people, to where my work isn't shit unless it gets the love and admiration of everyone else. My work has to get a certain amount of likes, a certain ratio. I have to have more followers. I need this. I have to take these photos for these people because they'll like it if I hashtag looks like film. If I hashtag film, maybe I'll start a YouTube channel and I'll switch to film cameras and I'll put the film cameras in the titles and I'll put hashtag like it and I'll get this and I'll switch to this system because then I'll get the respect I deserve and then people will recognize me. And you can pretend like this hasn't happened to you, but I'll be dead ass honest, it's happened to me. And I'll be even more honest whenever I tell you that I see it every damn single day from people that I'm looking at on Instagram. These aren't images, for the most part, that you guys would initially want to take. But you're going out and you're looking for these things because this is pleasing right now. Both the aesthetic and it's pleasing to you because the amount of engagement it's getting for someone else. And you just have to be realistic about where you're at with what you're posting. You have to be realistic about where you're at with how you're communicating. And it's because photography has turned into this, just in the way that we love bokeh now and fast lenses because they isolate the subject. You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to have a pleasing backdrop. You don't have to scout a place. You don't have to compose for behind the image and make everything go together. You know what you have to do? You don't have to worry about the lighting. You know what you have to worry about? Nothing. As long as that person is center and framed and the isolated subject is isolated, you can cover up everything else. You can cover up that mess. And it's the same way that we've gone about photography in and of ourselves when it comes to Instagram and things like that. I'm showing you the best part of me and the best part of what I think is pleasing to other people. And I can cover up all the rest of the crap that I may not like or some of my passion projects that may not get the best reviews. I can cover all that up because I'm going to have you focus on this. The same way that we are so obsessed with isolating a subject, now we isolate ourselves whenever it comes to social media and whenever it comes to getting our work recognized because it's me centric. Focal lengths are getting tighter, the bokeh is getting faster, and the engagement is going up. And now we've hit this roadblock with Instagram to where now it's going to be rewarding reels and video, and people are scared. They're throwing a fit for the most part. Because what am I going to do? Because this is how this, that, and the other. And I get it. Some of your business is linked to Instagram, and that's gotten you some work. But a lot of people, it's because you're afraid of losing your engagement. Period. So you're reverting to reels and you're trying to make Instagram stories and all these things that are going to get boosted by the algorithm for the simple fact that you yourself have to get those likes because that acknowledges your worth. Not you, not the work you put in to get that image, not how that image makes you feel when you look at it. They decide whether or not I have put in the correct amount of work and whether I am good and decent and whether I am a photographer. Disappointing. Sad. Now, I've gone my own way and things like that, and I found another app. It's for iPhone only called Gala. It's like the original Instagram, literally. I don't even think there's DMing on there. I haven't gotten a comment. I've got 0 followers. I just barely started uploading on there. But it's not for someone who's chasing a dopamine addiction. Maybe for someone who's wanting to engage and meet other photographers and talk about work and things like that, but not someone who's trying to fix a dopamine addiction. You know, a lot of the thing that's coming from, well, a lot of things that I'm saying and a lot of the ideas that are coming out from me right now aren't those of my own. I've talked about them many a time with other photographers. We've had these conversations. We've talked about, how frustrating it is that reels are going to push things, what Instagram used to be, why we have to make videos the way we have to make videos. We have talked about our insecurities, our struggles, the imposter syndrome and things like that. It happens over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. It happens to everyone. And the one thing that I keep on coming back to is for some reason, we all have this weird desire that someone that I will never meet in person appreciate the work that's being done. You can feel great about something you've taken. If it doesn't get the engagement, it hits you a little bit in the heart. It really does. It's unfortunate. It really is. But it's just how things are right now. We can fix it, I'm sure. I'm sure we can. I'm sure you can fix it for yourself. But it doesn't look like it's easy. Now, I'm looking at things through the perspective at this point from, I'll call it a 28 millimeter perspective, because it's something I've been talking about in my group chats with the Anti-Leica Club, with Dorian Coleman and Leica Lee De Leon, just about why 28 millimeter works for me and why it works for Leica Lee. Why, my boy DC, he may be looking to mess with 28 millimeters. It's this idea of what photography was originally about. Photography was originally about documenting people, places, things, and events, period. And the wider focal lengths gave you more leisure or more ability to focus on people, places, things, and events and tell the full story. I was explaining to Dorian Coleman a couple days ago because we were talking about 28 millimeter, and he was like, yeah, it's just a little bit different. I'm getting the hang of it. And I was explaining that with every other focal length above 28 millimeter, the story you're telling is first about the subject and about the world around. But with 28 millimeter, the story you're telling is about the world and how people and the subjects that you've chosen to be in there really move within it. It's not even that a person, an animal, etc. is the subject of the photo. You're really telling the story of the world, and everything in it is just there and how it interacts with it. Whether it's a subway station, whether it's a protest, whether it's never about one single person. It's never about isolation. Now, a lot of people hate that. Why? Because you cannot shoot at f1.4 and get amazing, pleasing bokeh unless you're right up on someone. I can't shoot wide. I literally read a gear review about the 18mm 1.4 from Fujifilm, and the guy shot at like 1/100th millionth of a second, so he could shoot at 1.4 for street photography. And that's where we're at. We're at right now to where the numbers and the specs are driving everything about us. And it's about you individually. Instead of telling the story of a whole world, photography now has become, I want to tell the story of my skill. That's what Instagram has become. That's what YouTube right now, when people ask me about images, that's what I feel like I'm doing. It's no longer, let me tell the story of the world around me. Let me document this. It's, let me tell you the story of my skill. Let me show you my color grading. Let me show you my damn composition, my weighting. Let me show you who I am, not as a person, but as a skill. That's what will drive me. So now you relegate yourself to not a human being, someone who has emotions, someone who has an emotional tie to these images. You've relegated yourself to something less, and that is a skill, labor. And it's this weird thing that we're all doing, that everyone's doing their own little way, but it's no longer about, I want people to see my world and I want to document it and I want to make pleasing images first and foremost to me. But now it's, I'm going to use and abuse this world that I have, these people that I have, so that I can create these images that are going to be pleasing to others and that are going to get the praise and adoration and the applause that it deserves. Now, again, this isn't everyone, but I know that if it's something that I deal with, I can't be alone and being the only person that deals with this. I've talked to people that are full-time photographers. I've talked to people that are hobbyists. I've talked to people with way more skill than me and people just below me. And the same thing rings true. We are searching and trying so damn hard to get that validation. For some people, it won't be until they're an ambassador. For some people, it won't be until, everyone knows their business. For some people, it won't be until they have a book and they're, talking to Steve, talking to Steve Jobs about, I collaborated with this, that, and if for some people, and rest in peace, Steve Jobs, I meant Tim Apple, Tim Cook, whatever in the world, whichever president right now is calling him. For some people, that's what matters. And that's fine. It's not healthy, but let me tell you, that's fine. That'll drive your engagement. That can get you some views. That can get you some business, etc., etc. But for a lot of people, it's tearing you apart. It's making you hate photography. It's making you want to take these long extended breaks. And it's not because, I just got bored of photography. Oh, it just became so overwhelming. It's 100% just because you've overwhelmed yourself with this idea that I have to perform and I have to give this and this and this to be worthy, to be worth it, to be valuable, to be good enough, whenever no single person ever in the history of photography that we have ever looked at and said they're great. None of the McCurry has never done it. I'm telling you, Andre Wagner has never done it. Stock Easy's never done it. Nacho Lopez has never done it. Gordon Parks has never done it. Eggleston has never done it. Ansel Adams has never done it. They've never taken these images and thought to themselves, I hope people like this. I hope people appreciate this. I hope someone else thinks it's as good as I do. Should I even develop this? Should I print this? Should I upload this? And there's a huge mental block right now across photography. And I'd like to believe that it's something that'll clear up on its own, but I don't. And so I welcome you into a conversation where you can discuss freely the same issues that I'm having, that I'm seeing with a lot of people, that people are discussing with me, but in a more vulnerable state. What is the reason why we're chasing for the admiration and the appreciation of all of these people that we will never know, that doesn't even matter because they're not with us in the scene and in the moment? Why are we chasing this? For some of us, it's money. I like the creator fund. It's getting me a little bit over 100 extra bucks a month. It's fantastic. But for some of us, including myself, there has to be something deeper. When did the shift change? When did I start feeling like, okay, if I don't have two bodies or an XT4 or the XH2, I'm going to be left behind? When did that happen to me? When did it happen to you? So with whatever you're saying, with whatever you think, I hope you can appreciate one thing. I'm hoping that this little bit of honesty for me develops this hunger for a little bit of honesty with yourself and with your work. And I hope you cut yourself some slack. But with that being said, have a good one.